Welcome to Play Stupid Games, Win Stupid Prizes podcast with your host, Angie. All about the consequences of the games we play in the game of love, one story at a time. Welcome to Play Stupid Games, Win Stupid Prizes podcast.
We are on air.
Welcome, guys, to episode 1. It feels so good to be behind the mic. For episode 1, we're going to talk about people that jump from relationships to relationships. It only leads to a chain of disappointment and sometimes heartbreak. Bouncing back from a breakup and healing from heartbreak, it's necessary. Some people like to use a new person, right? If I just change the person that's playing this role, everything will be better, right? Because you don't have any issues, right? It's not us, it's them. Or we like to think that. But I feel like every relationship is meant to teach us more about us, but also more about what we want to be like and what we don't. What we won't tolerate and what we will. What we will only accept. But I feel like that comes with age, because the more experiences you have in dating, the more you're able to learn, the more you have wisdom. People that bounce from relationship to relationship, or even marriage to marriage, you did not give yourself enough time to grieve that relationship, the love that you so say, because at some point you did love this person you were in a relationship with, right? Take that time to, yes, I know that this didn't work out, and yes, there's a lot of bad things, but it might have been a lot of good things. Maybe a little fraction was good things, right? And like 90% of it was horrible. But those 10% is what made you stay. And why did it make you stay? Is because you actually loved that person. So grieve over that. Grieve that relationship. Give that relationship the love that you felt for that person, the respect that it deserves by grieving it. And what do I mean by grieving it? I'm not saying sit around and be sad and sad bitch vibes. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying grieve it. Like, remember the good. Once you're done with soaking up all that memory, take the time to also see what you might have done wrong, what you could have done differently, what you won't allow next time, but also you won't let someone trigger you to act like that or to say those things or to be so desperate to want to make it work. Because I've heard so many people, they'll be in a marriage and they find out later, 2-3 years, the husband was having an affair. And they're like, I was willing to work it out and just forget about it. And he was like, no, I'm leaving you because I'm in love with the mistress. And she's like, and I even felt stupid for even offering that. Think about those moments. Like, I will never disrespect myself more than this person disrespected me. I will not compromise when someone betrays me. Actions speak louder than words. That's another one. Don't go by what they tell you. You go by what you see, what you feel. Your intuition is not there for nothing. Follow that shit. A lot of people use that new relationship to get over their ex. My first podcast, I had a guest speaker on there, and she was like, my mom said to get over someone, you have to get under someone else. And I'm like, that's horrible advice, for one, because, like, what? What a hoe. Your mama's a hoe, huh? I get what the saying is. Like, if you're trying to temporarily, like, ease the pain, like, sure. Go through your little hoe phase. If you feel the need, you need to do that. I feel like if you're in your 30s, mid-30s to late 30s, you should be over that, right? I think the hoe days should be done. But, who am I to judge? But some people do jump into the next relationship just to not feel the absence of the last person. So they're constantly filling up this role, this position. This position is now, we are hiring, we have an open position for you. And you just switch the person on that position. And you think that everything's going to be better. You don't think that this other person's going to say the same things that triggered you from the last person. And why do I say it's going to happen again? Well, because you didn't take the time to heal. You didn't take the time to reflect. What did I do wrong? What did I wish I could have done different in a more positive or better, higher vibe way? And what I will continue to do. How I will, for example, I'm a hopeless romantic. As in, when I love fucking deep. I love so hard. I'm passionate. One of my best friends, Sarah, She's in California. My longest best friend my whole life, 20 plus years, we've been best friends. And she's like the friend that I'm scared to like introduce my guy to because she's like the ultimate like test. And she's very judgmental. If she's judgmental to me, oh boy, you better run, you know? This is how she explains me. She says, Angie's very passionate, good or bad. It can be very loving or it can be very fucking hateful. It could be very helpful or it can be petty as fuck. Angie is 0 or 100. And the reason why I'm saying this is because in those situations when you're like, I don't want to grieve over that relationship. I don't want to sit here and think about all the things I should have done. I don't want to do that because I don't want to feel my feelings. So let me just tuck them in. And then when the next guy or girl I start dating, I'll pull those emotions out. Yeah, no, that doesn't work. Because something's going to trigger you or something's going to remind you of that person. Feel your feelings and feel it all the way through. Whatever the feeling is, feel it. When you jump into this new relationship and those people that like to replace the husband role or the boyfriend role or the wife or the girlfriend, let me just switch up the bitch, you know, and I just put another one. All it's going to do is spring up old wounds and things you already heard because you didn't take the time to reflect on the wisdom that it taught you and the things that you now know better about what you will tolerate, but also what you want, what you don't want, and what you want. From high school, I went from high school sweetheart to dating my kid's father to marrying at 22 years old to having 2 boys, divorcing at 24, getting married again 6 months. What the fuck was I thinking on that second marriage? Like, for real, I am so mad that this is on my resume. This shouldn't even be here. It was a 6 month marriage, and it was with a fucking firefighter. And you know how they say cops are beaters and firefighters are cheaters? Well, I'll say that I'll go 50-50 on that one. So I'm not saying I'm perfect. This is why I'm here. I'm here to teach you my wisdom so you don't do the stupid shit that I did. 6 months after that divorce, and I started dating someone for 5 years. And that was my biggest heartbreak. That was a 5-year relationship with someone that emotionally fulfilled me as much of a dickhead he was, and as much of a narcissist he was and is. He knew how to show me love. Some people can say, I love you, but it doesn't mean I feel loved by you. There's only certain people that make you feel loved, and it's the people that know your love language. But not only that, the bad obviously outweighed the good. And I didn't have the energy to give myself to anyone. And that's the thing. When you jump from relationship to relationship to marriage to marriage to relationship, you hit a wall where you're like, I don't give a fuck to know what your middle name is. I don't care where you grew up. I don't give a fuck to know what your grandma's name is. Like, I just don't want to know. I don't have the energy to do so. You get to that point. And I feel like a lot of people will hit that wall eventually, or you'll stay in a horrible relationship / marriage for the sake of not being alone because you're codependent. Pick your poison. That's a great question. I don't know why people are so scared to be by themselves. Let's say Bob or Joe cheated on you, and then the one before that was always on online dating apps while you guys were dating or whatever, and you always caught him, so you don't trust him either. The next person could be a fucking saint, and I'm not saying they are, right, because everybody has flaws. The next person could be a fucking saint, but because you never heal those wounds that you just don't trust men. Sometimes subconsciously you don't even know that you don't trust people. You know, and there's guys out there that don't trust girls just because they're girls. Because every girl has fucked them over, so this one's gonna fuck me over too. And then you sabotage it. Which I actually just experienced that. I just experienced a relationship after the 5 years that I took to fucking heal from that last roller coaster. Because they didn't heal. They'll brush it underneath the rug and they won't heal. They'll be like, no, I'm good. I saw a therapist one time. I'm good. I talked about it. What? It's not about seeing a therapist. It's about sitting there by yourself and ask yourself, what did it teach me? Why did I act this way? If you want to know what you got to heal, I tell this. This is my number one thing I tell all my friends. Number one way to know if you need to heal something is ask yourself why it triggered you and try to think back. There's a wound there. It's either from childhood. It's either from experience, relationship, friends, family. It's somewhere. You got to dig deep. And then I realized after 2 failed marriage and 1 failed engagement, I couldn't remember staying single for more than a few months since high school. And that's when I decided to work on my self-healing journey. And I stayed single for 5 years and focus on what I wanted and what I didn't want. And not only that, I hit rock bottom, bitch. I had to like start back up. I had to like start my career path back up, my stability, my home life, everything. And I had 2 little boys growing up watching me do this. And that's one of my biggest heartbreak is the sadness that my kids had to see me growing up because I was fixing myself, because I never took the time to fix myself before. So definitely do it before you have kids. It can really confuse them. But there's 3 main reasons why people hop from relationship to relationship. The fear of being alone, the fear of commitment, and the fear of change. Alone, you just don't like the idea of being alone. You're codependent. You have an overwhelming fear of being alone or ending up alone. People with history of trauma or neglect or abandonment tend to have this fear of being alone where they do not want to feel abandoned. Because if you leave me for an hour, how do I know you're going to come back? That's a trauma response. Why does that trigger you? Ask yourself, when was the last time that somebody said they weren't going to come back? Ding, ding, ding. That's what you need to heal. How do you heal that? You feel your feelings. You accept it. You also need to understand that people project what they are going through, and it has nothing to do with you. Now, if people are projecting to you things that you've heard a couple of times, then bitch, you need to look in the mirror, okay? We're not repeating ourselves here for nothing. If there's different people telling you the same thing, I've had people tell me, it could be friends, it could be coworkers, they'll say something and I'm like, okay, I've heard this before, so I clearly need to fix this because this is a whole nother human being that has this opinion of me, and clearly I'm showing something that's making this person think that of me, right? Feel it, accept it, whatever was going on in your life at that time, and let it go. Everyone wants to be in control. Oh my God, I can't stand people like this where they're like, oh my God, I gotta do this. What time is this? What time is like, if they don't have the control of a certain event or a certain plan, they feel so anxious. It's like, are you like this all the time? So if you're trying to control other people, it's not gonna work, baby. The only control that you have is yourself and how you feel and how you react. It was out of your control. You can't control that person. If that person decided to do this and I've had situations where I'm like, I just don't understand why this person would fucking do this. Why would they hurt me like this? Sometimes it's not understandable. Sometimes we just need to accept that we're not meant to know why shit happens. Because at the end of the day, we come into this world alone and naked, but alone. And we leave this world alone. We do not come in with our parents, and we do not die with our spouse. I mean, sometimes people do, but that's like some notebook shit. But you know what I mean. How do you expect someone to love you if you can't even handle being by yourself? You can't find love if you can't handle being with just yourself, because you're all that you got. So how can you fear you? How can you be scared of you? When you hop from relationship to relationship, you have a loss of identity. You're like, yeah, I'm going to go with the flow. I'm going to be the perfect girl or guy that this person wants me to be. But that shit falls eventually, right? Constantly adapting to what your partner's like. I've seen people start dating someone and they go into a hobby that they talked mad shit about the last relationship. I'm like, are you fucking serious? I would never see you doing that. Motherfucking liar. You know? People will do that just to not be alone. And I'm not saying you found a new hobby, but you know what I mean. Have you ever like been in a conversation with someone that you're interested in and they're like, oh my God, I can't fucking stand this. Like, for example, I'm going to give you a great example. I sent him a video on TikTok. You know how you do that. You send it to your best friends and your man and your girlfriend. It was talking about relationship. And he's like, she don't know what she's talking about. She's divorced. And I'm like, excuse me. Hello? Excuse me? Have you ever had a conversation with someone where they'll say something and you're like, you just talk shit about me pretty much to my face, but not directly, you know? And I know that at the time my ex didn't mean, like, he wasn't trying to hurt me. That's how he felt. And that right there was a red flag for me because I was like, wow, if that's how you really feel about divorced people, this is not going to work because I need you to accept me for my flaws too. Your own values and goals, your own interest, and you end up depending on only what your partner wants to do or likes. Like, for example, another great example. This fucking podcast should be called Examples Podcast. one of my exes would watch a movie, it was always action or bloody or scary. And I'm like, can we just do a comedy? Maybe a comedy romantic? Can we switch it up? It was always about what they wanted. It's like you lose your identity and you allow that behavior. Like, no, it should be share my interests with you as well. We're sharing our lives, right? It's not just you sharing your life with me. Taking time for yourself to heal is important. Moving on and healing from past relationship is huge. It's always important to process the relationship because there's been plenty of times where people get dumped and it's very surprising that it's like the breakup is still a processing thing. Like when I got broken up with one time, it was such a shock that it took forever to fucking process it. I'm not even gonna lie. Because it was like I didn't see it coming. And some people do see it coming, but like I didn't see it coming. So process the breakup that it happened and then process what went wrong. All you're doing is what is called in psychology the avoidant approach to healing, which is putting a band-aid on a 4-inch cut that really needs stitches. If you don't give breakups the care and attention they deserve, you end up paying for it later. Be selective and intentional. Be picky about who you date. Make sure you're not settling for less than you deserve or what you want or what you know. Like, you know what? This motherfucker's not that romantic. I need someone that shows me they love me, and I feel it. I feel it. I highly recommend taking time for yourself and working through the breakup before getting back into the dating world. Like right now, I'm going through a breakup, which it was about a month ago, but still, it was a year of my life that I wasted. But it wasn't wasted because I learned a lot. I learned what I don't want. And I feel like I'm always learning what I don't want. But this was a little different. This wasn't like, oh, I don't want light. No, it wasn't like ghosting. No, it wasn't like it. There was things that I'm like, wow, I need to be more detailed about those things that I really want my man to be like, you know? And if you're scared that your ex is going to like find somebody, most of the time the guys do find a girl first. But you know, if the motherfucker's hopping from bitch to bitch, he's going back to square one, baby. Okay? Relationship hopping, like homie hopping, relationship hopping is an unhealthy way of coping with emotional issues. If you can't handle being with yourself or you don't love yourself, then how do you expect anyone else to love you? Follow me on the social medias on the link of the description of this episode. Thank you guys.